The city lights twinkled like scattered diamonds, but inside their small apartment, David often felt a different kind of sparkle, the one that came from Lily's bright eyes. Lily, his daughter, was a whirlwind of giggles and crayon drawings, and her happiness was David's sun and moon. He was a single dad, and every morning, before the sun had fully stretched across the sky, he was already up, making sure Lily had her favorite cereal and her backpack was ready for school. Life wasn't easy. Money was a constant worry, a tiny pebble in his shoe that he couldn't quite shake out. David worked hard at a big company, doing his best every day, but his paycheck always seemed to disappear faster than a magician's trick. He'd often find himself staring at the grocery list, trying to figure out how to make a few dollars stretch to feed two growing appetites. Sometimes, he'd skip lunch just so Lily could have an extra treat after school. He never wanted her to feel the pinch of their tight budget, always putting on a brave face and a smile, even when his own heart felt heavy with concern. Lily, with her innocent wisdom, sometimes noticed his quiet sighs. "Are you tired, Daddy?" she'd ask, her small hand reaching for his. David would just hug her tighter, burying his worries deep down, promising himself he'd find a way to make things better. He dreamed of a life where he could buy Lily all the books she wanted, where he didn't have to check his bank account balance before buying milk. He wanted to give her the world, or at least a little piece of it that wasn't shadowed by his financial struggles. His days were a careful balance of work, school pickups, cooking dinner, and helping with homework. After Lily was tucked into bed, dreaming sweet dreams, David would often sit at their kitchen table, surrounded by bills and a calculator, trying to make the numbers add up. The silence of the night was often filled with the quiet hum of his worries. He knew he was a good dad, and he loved Lily more than anything, but the constant pressure of making ends meet wore on him. He wished for a break, a little bit of good luck, anything that could ease the burden and bring a little more peace to their lives. He just kept pushing forward, one day at a time, for Lily. David's workplace, Sterling Solutions, was a towering building of glass and steel, a bustling hive of activity in the heart of the city. He was a junior analyst there, a small cog in a very large machine. Every morning, he walked into the gleaming lobby, feeling a mix of hope and determination. He wasn't just working for a paycheck, he was working for Lily's future. He carefully planned his days, making sure he was always on time, always prepared, and always willing to help his teammates. He knew that simply doing his job wasn't enough to pull them out of their money worries. For months, David had been quietly putting in extra hours, learning new computer programs, and offering to take on more complex tasks. He studied reports during his lunch breaks and stayed late to finish projects, even if it meant getting home a little later to Lily. His goal was clear, he desperately wanted a promotion to a senior analyst position. It wasn't about fancy titles or showing off, it was about the extra money that came with it. That extra money would mean fewer worries, more healthy food, and maybe even a small vacation for Lily, something they hadn't had in years. He pictured the job description often in his mind. It meant more responsibility, but also a salary that would finally give them some breathing room. He could imagine the relief of not having to choose between fixing a leaky faucet and buying Lily new shoes. The thought of that promotion fueled him, especially on the days when he felt tired or discouraged. He pushed himself harder, wanting to prove not just to his bosses, but to himself, that he was capable of more. His supervisor, Mr. Jenkins, was a busy man, always rushing from one meeting to the next. David tried his best to make his work stand out, hoping Mr. Jenkins would notice his dedication and skill. He'd submit reports early, triple-check his calculations, and offer helpful ideas during team meetings. He wasn't loud or boastful, David simply let his consistent hard work speak for itself. He understood that getting ahead in a big company like Sterling Solutions wasn't just about what you knew, but also about showing you could be trusted and relied upon. He hoped his effort would soon pay off, not for his own pride, but for the little girl who was his entire world. Every spreadsheet he filled, every late night he spent at his desk, was a silent plea for a better life for Lily. While David poured his heart into his work, hoping for a promotion, he had no idea that someone far more important than his direct supervisor was watching him. High above his cubicle, in a grand office with sweeping views of the city, sat Mr. Harrison, the CEO of Sterling Solutions. Mr. Harrison was a man of quiet power, known for building his company from a small startup into the giant it was today. He was also a man who believed deeply in honesty, a quality he found increasingly rare in the fast-paced business world. Mr. Harrison wasn't just looking for clever minds or people who could make a lot of money for the company. He was looking for something deeper, true integrity. He believed that a company was only as strong as the character of its people. For weeks, he had been observing various employees, not just through their work reports, but through small, often unseen, actions. He had a special way of doing this, a network of cameras and even a few trusted eyes that helped him see how people acted when they thought no one important was watching. He'd seen people take extra office supplies home, stretch their lunch breaks, or even take credit for someone else's idea. These small things, Mr. Harrison believed, showed a person's true colors. He wanted leaders who were honest to their core, people who would do the right thing simply because it was the right thing, not because they expected a reward. He knew that money and power could change people, and he wanted to make sure the next generation of leaders at Sterling Solutions had strong, good hearts. David, with his quiet dedication and respectful manner, had caught Mr. Harrison's eye. The CEO had noticed David was always early, always focused, and always willing to help a coworker, even when it wasn't his job. He'd seen David politely decline gossip in the break room and offer a kind word to a new, nervous intern. These weren't grand gestures, but they were consistent. Mr. Harrison had asked his assistant to keep a subtle eye on David, curious to see if this young man's good nature ran deep. He was setting up a special test, one that would reveal if David truly possessed the honesty he sought, or if his good behavior was just a show. David, completely unaware of the powerful eyes on him, continued his daily routine, simply trying his best, completely oblivious to the fact that his destiny might soon be rewritten by an unseen observer. The next Tuesday was one of those crazy busy days at Sterling Solutions. Phones were ringing off the hook, emails piled up, and everyone seemed to be rushing. David had been working on a difficult report all morning, his brow furrowed in concentration. He finally decided he needed a quick break, a moment to clear his head, and headed to the company break room to grab a cup of coffee. The break room was usually a hub of chatter and laughter, but at that exact moment, it was empty. The lingering smell of burnt toast hung in the air, a sign that someone had just left. David walked over to the coffee machine, his mind still half on his report. As he reached for a mug, something on the counter caught his eye. It was a dark leather wallet, lying right next to the sugar packets. It looked thick, almost bursting at the seams. David's heart gave a little thump. He glanced around the empty room again, just to be sure. No one. Not a soul. He picked up the wallet. It was heavier than he expected. He could feel the crisp edges of many bills packed inside. Curiosity, and a tiny bit of worry, made him open it just a crack. He saw a thick stack of green money, much more than he usually saw in one place. It was a lot of money, enough to make a real difference for him and Lily. A sudden wave of warmth, like a blush, spread across David's face. His mind raced. This wasn't just a few dollars, this was rent money, grocery money for months, perhaps even enough to fix the old car that kept sputtering. For a fleeting second, a selfish thought, quick as a blink, flashed through his mind, * no one saw me. * he could easily slip the wallet into his pocket, walk out of the break room, and pretend he'd never seen it. No one would ever know. The cameras in the break room were usually only looked at if something big happened, and he was quite sure they weren't pointed directly at that part of the counter. He closed the wallet quickly, feeling its weight in his hand. The break room remained quiet, offering no answers, no witnesses. It was just him, the forgotten wallet, and the tempting secret it held. The chance to solve so many of his worries felt incredibly close, almost within his grasp, and it made his heart beat a little faster. But then, another feeling, cold and sharp, pushed against the first. It was the feeling of wrongness, a whisper from his conscience. The weight of the wallet in David's hand felt like a heavy secret. He stood frozen in the quiet break room, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. He imagined the stacks of bills, crisp and new, and what they could mean. This wasn't just a day's pay, it was a small fortune to him. He saw Lily's face in his mind, her bright smile, her threadbare winter coat that was a little too small. With this money, he could buy her a brand new, warm coat, maybe even those art supplies she'd been asking for, the fancy ones he could never afford. He could pay for their overdue electric bill and stop worrying about the lights going out. He could fill their fridge with fresh fruits and vegetables, instead of always choosing the cheaper, less healthy options. The old car, which had been making worrying noises for weeks, could finally get fixed. No more anxious drives to school, hoping it wouldn't break down on the way. He could put some money aside for Lily's college fund, a dream that felt so far away most days. The relief that would wash over him, the peace of mind, felt almost within reach. It was like a magical key, suddenly appearing, that could unlock all their money troubles. The temptation was strong, a powerful pull that tugged at his heart. No one knew he had found it. He could just walk away, and his life, and Lily's, could be so much easier. He wouldn't have to work extra hours, constantly feeling tired. He wouldn't have to say no to Lily's small requests because he couldn't afford them. He could finally breathe. It felt like an answer to all his silent prayers, a gift from the sky, dropped right into his lap. His hand tightened around the wallet. The warmth of the leather seemed to seep into his palm, a silent promise of comfort and security. It was a lifeline, glimmering right there in the empty break room. Who would it even belong to? Someone rich, probably, someone who wouldn't even miss it as much as he and Lily needed it. The thought was a dangerous whisper, trying to convince him that taking it wouldn't truly harm anyone, especially not compared to the good it would do for his daughter. He closed his eyes for a moment, the battle within him raging fiercely. This was more than just money, it was freedom, and it was calling to him with a powerful voice. The powerful pull of the money, promising relief and comfort for Lily, was almost too much to resist. David could practically feel the warmth of new clothes on Lily's skin, the peace of mind from paid bills. But then, as he stood there, wrestling with the tempting thoughts, a different kind of warmth spread through him. It wasn't the heat of temptation, but the gentle, strong feeling of a memory. He saw his own father's face, kind and weathered, looking at him with steady eyes. His dad wasn't a rich man, but he was a good one, full of quiet wisdom. David remembered a time when he was just a little boy, maybe 7 or 8. He had found a shiny toy car in the park. It was the coolest car he had ever seen, and he wanted to keep it so badly. But his dad had gently taken his hand, walked him back to the park office, and helped him turn it in. "It's not ours, son," his dad had said, his voice soft but firm. "Someone lost it, and they'll be sad. We always do the right thing, David, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Those words, spoken so long ago, echoed in David's mind as clearly as if his father were standing right beside him in the break room. Always do the right thing, even when it's hard. The memory brought with it a sense of calm, like a quiet hand guiding him. He thought of Lily, and what he wanted to teach her. He always told her to be honest, to be kind, to always do her best. How could he look her in the eye if he took something that wasn't his, simply because it would make his own life easier? What kind of example would that set? The imagined comfort of the money faded a little, replaced by the clear image of his father's proud smile, and the even stronger image of Lily's trusting gaze. He knew, deep down, that taking the wallet would feel like a betrayal of everything his father had taught him, and everything he hoped to teach Lily. The immediate relief the money offered would be quickly replaced by a heavy guilt, a secret he would carry, and that thought felt worse than any financial worry. He took a deep breath, the decision slowly forming in his heart. It wouldn't be easy, but his dad's words were a compass, pointing him in the right direction. With a steadying breath, David's mind became clear. The whispers of temptation quieted, replaced by a firm resolve. He gripped the wallet, no longer feeling its tempting weight, but rather its presence as a responsibility. He knew what he had to do. It was the harder path, the one that meant returning to his worries, but it was the only path he could truly walk with his head held high. He walked out of the empty break room, the wallet still in his hand, and headed straight for the main reception desk on the ground floor. The lost and found was located there, a small cabinet tucked behind the main counter where forgotten umbrellas and lonely keychains often waited. His steps were firm, even though his heart felt a little heavier with the knowledge of what he was giving up. Every step was a silent battle, a conscious choice to put someone else's need before his own, even when his own need felt so great. When he reached the reception desk, a friendly face, Sarah, looked up from her computer. "Everything okay, David?" she asked with a smile. David managed a small smile back. "Yes, Sarah, I just found this in the break room." He held out the dark leather wallet. "It's full of money, so I wanted to make sure it gets to its owner." Sarah's eyes widened a little when she saw how thick the wallet was. "Oh my goodness, that's a lot. Someone must be very upset right now." She took the wallet carefully. "Thank you, David. That was very honest of you. Most people," she trailed off, shaking her head slightly, then continued, "I'll log it and keep it safe here. I'm sure the owner will be so relieved." David felt a strange mix of feelings as he turned to leave. There was a pang of regret, a brief thought of all the things that money could have done for him and Lily. But underneath that, a quiet sense of peace began to settle. He had done the right thing. He hadn't given in to the easy way out. He was still worried about money, and the promotion still felt far off, but his conscience was clear. As he walked back towards his cubicle, the weight of his financial struggles returned, but the weight of the wallet was gone, and with it, the burden of a potential secret. He felt lighter, in a way that money could never buy. As David walked away from the reception desk, a quiet satisfaction settling in his heart, he had no idea that his simple act of honesty had been witnessed. Not by Sarah alone, but by a pair of keen eyes that had been observing him for weeks. High above, in his spacious office, Mr. Harrison sat watching a small monitor. The screen showed a clear, live feed of the break room. He had placed the wallet there himself that morning, a carefully planned test. He had watched as David entered the empty room, picked up the wallet, and felt its weight. He had seen the fleeting moment of temptation on David's face, the quick glance around, the internal battle playing out in his silent expression. Mr. Harrison understood the struggle David must have felt, especially knowing the young man's financial situation from his discreet inquiries. Then, he watched as David's expression changed, a flicker of resolve replacing the conflict. He saw David walk directly to the reception desk and hand the wallet to Sarah, explaining calmly what he had found. Mr. Harrison even heard the conversation through a hidden microphone, catching Sarah's impressed words. A slow, thoughtful smile spread across the CEO's face. This was exactly what he had been looking for. Not someone who just followed rules, but someone who chose the harder, right path when no one was forcing them to. David hadn't hesitated for long, and he hadn't sought praise or attention. He had simply done what he believed was right, purely out of his own good heart. This was true integrity, shining brightly when it would have been so easy to dim. Mr. Harrison leaned back in his chair, a deep sense of satisfaction warming him. Many employees had walked into that break room since he had placed the wallet there this morning. Some had glanced at it and walked away, others had picked it up, looked around, and then put it back, probably feeling watched. But David, the struggling single father, was the only one who had picked it up, clearly battled with temptation, and then, without seeking recognition, turned it in. "Excellent," Mr. Harrison murmured to himself. He picked up his phone. "Please ask David Miller from Junior Analysis to come see me first thing tomorrow morning," he instructed his assistant. "And make sure his schedule is clear." He knew he had found his man. This small act of honesty was more valuable than any impressive sales report or complex financial plan. It spoke volumes about the kind of person David truly was. 2 days later, the ordinary hum of David's workday was suddenly broken by a message on his computer screen. It was from Mr. Harrison's assistant, a polite but firm request for David to come to the CEO's office at 10 o'clock that morning. David's stomach did a little flip. He read the message again, just to be sure. The CEO. Mr. Harrison. The most powerful person in the entire company. He quickly checked his watch. 10 o'clock was only 15 minutes away. A cold knot of nerves began to form in his chest. Why would Mr. Harrison want to see him? David racked his brain, trying to think if he had made any mistakes in his recent reports, or if he had accidentally upset anyone important. He had been trying so hard to get a promotion, to be noticed for his good work, not for something bad. The only thing he could think of was the wallet. Had the owner of the wallet complained? Had they reviewed the cameras, even though he thought they wouldn't? Maybe they thought he had taken something from it, or held on to it for too long. His mind raced with all the worst possible scenarios. He imagined being fired, losing his job, and then what would happen to Lily? The thought made his palms sweat. He stood up, trying to smooth out the imaginary wrinkles in his shirt, feeling suddenly very small in the vastness of the office. His heart pounded like a drum against his ribs. Walking towards the elevator that led to the executive floor felt like walking to a principal's office, but 100 times worse. The other employees, busy with their own tasks, didn't even notice his worried face. He felt completely alone with his fear. When the elevator doors opened on the top floor, a quiet, plush hallway greeted him. Everything felt grander, quieter, and more important up here. Mr. Harrison's assistant, a woman with a kind smile, greeted him. "Mr. Miller. Mr. Harrison is ready for you." She pointed to a large, polished wooden door. David nodded, his throat suddenly dry. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He knocked softly on the door, then pushed it open. Mr. Harrison sat behind a huge desk, looking up with a calm, steady gaze. The nervousness in David's stomach twisted even tighter. This was it. He was definitely in trouble. David stood nervously in front of Mr. Harrison's grand desk, his heart still thumping. The CEO gestured to a comfortable chair, and David slowly sat down, his eyes darting around the impressive office. Mr. Harrison looked at him with a kind, but serious, expression. "Mr. Miller," Mr. Harrison began, his voice calm and steady. "Thank you for coming. I wanted to speak with you about something important." David swallowed hard, bracing himself for the bad news. He was sure it was about the wallet, about some rule he might have broken, or a complaint. Mr. Harrison leaned forward slightly, his gaze fixed on David. "Do you remember finding a wallet in the break room a couple of days ago?" David's breath caught in his throat. So it was about the wallet. His face probably went pale. "Yes, sir," he managed to croak out. "I found it and turned it in at the reception desk." He wanted to explain, to make sure Mr. Harrison knew he hadn't done anything wrong. A small smile touched the corners of Mr. Harrison's lips. "Indeed, you did. And I know you did, Mr. Miller, because I was watching." David's eyes widened in surprise. He felt a blush creep up his neck. Watching? What did he mean? "You see," Mr. Harrison continued, picking up a pen and tapping it gently on his desk, "that wallet was mine. Or, rather, I put it there. It was a test." David stared, completely stunned. A test? The words echoed in his head. All that worry, all that struggle, all that temptation, it had been a test. He couldn't quite believe it. His mind felt suddenly blank, trying to make sense of what he was hearing. "I placed it there to see what would happen," Mr. Harrison explained, his voice now softer. "I wanted to see who would find it, and more importantly, what they would do with it. I believe that true character, true honesty, shines brightest when no one is looking, when there's no reward expected." He paused, letting his words sink in. Many people walked past that wallet, Mr. Miller. A few even picked it up, looked around, and put it back down. But you found it, you struggled with it, and you did the right thing. David could only nod, still speechless. The relief that washed over him was so powerful it made him feel a little weak. He wasn't in trouble. It wasn't a mistake. It was a test. And he had passed. David still felt a little dizzy from the surprise, but the fear had melted away, replaced by a warm, almost unbelievable relief. Mr. Harrison looked at him with genuine admiration in his eyes. "Mr. Miller," the CEO said, his voice now full of warmth, "what you did showed true character. It's easy to be honest when everyone is watching, or when it doesn't cost you anything. But you chose to do the right thing when you thought no one important saw you, and when it would have been so easy to keep that money for yourself." David looked down at his hands, a humble flush rising to his cheeks. He wasn't used to such high praise, especially from someone so powerful. "I know a little about your situation, David," Mr. Harrison continued, his voice gentle. "I know you work hard, and I know you're a dedicated father. That makes your honesty even more remarkable. You put someone else's loss before your own very real needs. That, to me, speaks volumes about the kind of person you are, and the kind of leader you could be." Mr. Harrison leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. "In this company, we value integrity above all else. Skills can be taught, and knowledge can be gained, but true honesty and a good heart are rare and precious. You showed that you possess both, in a moment where it truly mattered." David finally found his voice, a little shaky. "Thank you, sir. I just remembered what my dad always taught me. And I thought about Lily." Mr. Harrison nodded slowly. "A good foundation, indeed. Your father would be proud, and I'm sure Lily will be too. You made a choice that showed you understand what's truly important." He smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached his eyes. "You passed the test, David. You showed us that your integrity is unwavering." David sat there, a mix of awe and gratitude filling him. He had simply done what he felt was right, never imagining it would lead him to this office, receiving such powerful words of praise from the company's CEO. It felt like a heavy burden had been lifted, replaced by a feeling of immense pride, not just for himself, but for the values he held dear. He had done the right thing, and it felt truly good. The praise from Mr. Harrison filled David with a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. It was a good feeling, a quiet pride. But what came next made his jaw drop. Mr. Harrison leaned forward again, a serious but kind look on his face. "David, I believe in rewarding not just hard work, but also true character. I've been looking for someone with your kind of integrity to fill a very important role in this company." David's heart began to beat fast again, but this time it was with excitement, not fear. What could he mean? "We have an opening for a senior project manager in a new department we're building," Mr. Harrison explained. "It's a role with a lot of responsibility, but also a lot of opportunity for growth. It comes with a much higher salary, of course, and a chance to truly make a difference here at Sterling Solutions. I want to offer that position to you." David sat there, completely stunned. A senior project manager. It was far beyond the promotion he had been hoping for, a leap he hadn't even dared to dream of. More money, a chance to grow, a new department. It was everything he had been working towards, and so much more. The numbers in his head started to swirl: paid bills, new clothes for Lily, a secure future, no more constant worries. "Sir. I don't know what to say," David stammered, his voice thick with emotion. He could feel tears pricking at the corners of his eyes. Mr. Harrison smiled gently. "You don't have to say anything right now, David. Think about it. But know that I have full confidence in you. Your skills are good, but your character is exceptional. That's what we need in our leaders." He stood up, signaling the end of their meeting, and extended his hand. I believe you are exactly the person to help us build something great. David slowly stood and shook Mr. Harrison's hand, still feeling as if he were in a dream. The CEO's grip was firm and reassuring. He managed a heartfelt, "Thank you, sir. Thank you very much." As he walked out of the office, the plush carpet felt like clouds beneath his feet. The worries that had weighed him down for so long suddenly felt lighter, almost gone. His honesty, a simple act of doing the right thing, had opened a door to a future he never imagined possible. Walking back to his desk, David felt like he was floating. The world outside Mr. Harrison's office seemed brighter, the air lighter. He pinched himself, just to be sure he wasn't dreaming. Senior Project Manager. A new department. The words sang in his head, a joyful melody. He couldn't wipe the stunned, happy smile from his face. His colleagues, noticing his bright eyes and excited demeanor, wondered what good news he had received. The shock was still there, a pleasant surprise that buzzed beneath his skin, but it was quickly mixing with pure, unadulterated happiness. This wasn't just a better job, it was a completely new chapter for him and Lily. He thought of all the times he had worried, the sleepless nights spent staring at bills, the quiet sacrifices he had made. All those moments, all that struggle, suddenly felt worth it. He remembered the heavy feeling of the wallet in his hand, the powerful temptation to keep it. He remembered his dad's words, clear as a bell, always do the right thing, even when it's hard. And he remembered Lily's trusting face. In that moment, making the difficult choice to return the wallet had felt like a loss, a missed opportunity to ease his burdens. Now, he understood it was the most important decision he had ever made. It wasn't just about getting a promotion, it was about proving to himself that his values, his deep-seated belief in honesty and kindness, truly mattered. He realized that choosing compassion over personal gain, even when no one was watching, had somehow rewritten his entire destiny. It wasn't a quick fix or a stroke of luck, it was the direct result of choosing integrity. The universe, or perhaps just Mr. Harrison, had been watching, and had rewarded his true character. A profound sense of gratitude washed over him. He felt grateful for his father's lessons, for Lily's innocent inspiration, and even for the difficult times that had made him strong. He hadn't sought a reward for his honesty, but a reward had found him, a reward far greater than the money in that wallet. He couldn't wait to tell Lily, to share this incredible news, to show her that being good, truly good, could open doors you never even knew existed. The future, which had often felt like a dark, uncertain road, now stretched out before him, bright and full of promise. The moment David picked Lily up from school that afternoon, his heart felt like it would burst with happiness. Lily, with her usual chatter about her day, noticed his extra-wide smile right away. "Daddy, why are you so smiley?" she asked, her own face crinkling in a happy grin. David knelt down, pulling her into a big hug. "I have some very, very good news, sweet pea," he said, his voice full of joy. "Something amazing happened today." As they walked home, hand in hand, David told her everything, simplifying the details about the CEO and the big company, but emphasizing the important part: he had found something valuable, and he had given it back because it was the right thing to do. And because he did the right thing, he was offered a wonderful new job that would make their lives much easier and happier. Lily listened with wide eyes, her small face reflecting his excitement. "So, we won't have to worry about broken things anymore?" she asked, remembering his recent worries about the car. David chuckled, pulling her closer. "That's right, sweetie. And we can buy you that new winter coat, and maybe even those art supplies you wanted." Lily squealed with delight, jumping up and down. "Really? A new coat and art supplies? And we can get more apples?" Her innocent questions highlighted just how much these changes would mean. When they got home, David decided they needed a proper celebration. He took the few extra dollars he had saved and they walked to the small grocery store to buy ingredients for Lily's favorite dinner, spaghetti with meatballs. For dessert, a small, fancy cake, a rare treat they hadn't enjoyed in years. As they cooked together, Lily helping stir the sauce, their small apartment filled with laughter and the delicious smell of their special meal. Later, as they sat at their kitchen table, illuminated by the warm glow of a single lamp, eating their celebratory feast, David looked at Lily's beaming face. Her eyes, usually just bright, now sparkled with pure, unburdened happiness. This wasn't just a new job, it was a new beginning. A fresh start where the heavy weight of worry would finally be lifted. He saw a future where Lily could simply be a child, without ever having to sense his silent struggles. Their dreams, once whispered in the dark, now felt real and within reach. It was a brighter future, indeed, all because of one small, honest choice. As the weeks turned into months, David settled into his new role as senior project manager. The work was challenging, but exciting, and the increased salary brought a peace to their home that David had only dreamed of. Lily had her new coat, her art supplies, and plenty of fresh apples. Their apartment felt warmer, brighter, and the laughter was more frequent and carefree. David often thought back to that busy Tuesday morning in the break room. He remembered the heavy wallet, the tempting thoughts, and the quiet voice of his father in his head. He realized now, more deeply than ever, that the choice he made that day was not just about returning a wallet, it was about holding on to something far more valuable than money, his own good heart. He understood that success wasn't just about working hard, though that was important. It was also about being a good person, about choosing kindness and honesty even when it was difficult, and especially when no one was around to see. He had learned that true strength came from within, from sticking to your values, no matter what. His father's words, "Always do the right thing, even when it's hard," had proven to be the most powerful lesson of all. It wasn't just a saying, it was a way of life that had unexpectedly changed his entire world for the better. He hadn't sought a reward, but his integrity had brought him one, a reward that went beyond money or a fancy job title. It brought him peace, security, and a renewed belief in the power of goodness. David made sure to teach Lily this important lesson, not just with words, but by living it every day. He showed her that being honest, being fair, and being compassionate were the most important qualities a person could have. He wanted her to understand that doing the right thing, even when it seemed small or unnoticed, could create ripples of good that spread far and wide, eventually coming back to you in unexpected and wonderful ways. Their life was still simple, but it was rich in happiness and hope. David knew that no matter what challenges came their way, they would face them with clear consciences and strong hearts, guided by the simple, powerful truth that being kind and honest was truly the most important thing of all. And sometimes, just sometimes, it could even rewrite your destiny.